Hi, guys, and welcome back to another mystery. This is a interesting one, but before we get started, how are you? Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for watching. I love your comments and your suggestions. People put in suggestions that I'm going to do anyways, for the most part. Um, some Uh, no. I has to do something that, first of all, that I have an interest in and that I feel that a lot of people have an interest in. Like you might be interested in one person, but that doesn't mean everybody else is interested in them. Um, we're going to go live for any of you that have signed up for the beginner tarot class. Sheila and myself, Celtic Tarot Sheila, will be live next Saturday, September 19th, and it will be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you got to adjust your time for that. Um, I think in California, 11, 12, 1, 2, it'll be 11 a.m. and then keep going across. It'll be 12 and then 1 and then to me at 2 o'clock. So that'll be fun. We're going to talk about the class, what you can expect, what you need, and anything else that pops up. So try to join us. I'm going to put it in my community, and that way you'll remember that it's there. Now, today, we are going to talk about the angry man with the gun who was actually a very famous music producer and the actress. The music producer is Phil Spector. Wasn't that a crazy case? He's worked with many people. He was a millionaire in the 60s because he created what was called the Wall of Sound. And the Wall of Sound was him layering, doubling, tripling, and so forth sounds onto the music that he made, which made it bigger and richer. And that, excuse me, that made him become a millionaire in his 20s. In addition, he worked with people like Tina Turner, the Beatles, John Lennon outside of the Beatles, Bruce Springsteen, the Ramones, the Rolling Stones. I mean, the list goes on and on and on because he was like a mad genius. He was a little guy. He was somewhere between 5'3" and 5'5", somewhere in there, a little guy. And sorry if any guys are listening, but I find that little guys do tend to have that Napoleon complex. They just do. They want to be bigger than what they are. So this story starts um, kind of in reverse. Uh, it was started in Alhambra, California, and it was February 3rd, 2003. And the 911 operator received a call saying that there was a shooting at this particular house. The police get there to this huge mansion, and it is the home of Phil Spector. The police don't know this at the time. They don't know what's going on. What I want to throw in there, though, it had just gotten to be the 3rd of February. So that tells me they met on the 2nd of February. And if we add that whole together, that whole number to 2003, we end up with a number 9 year. So a number 9 year is an end of a cycle. Things are closing out, things are done. And little did they know that things were done, both for Phil as well as for Lana. And just a shout out, I want to just make sure we keep Lana Clarkson's name in our mouth because she was a B actress, but she was an actress, and people act as if she didn't exist, and she was the victim. She made, I think it was Barbarian Woman or Barbarian. Let me see, did I write this down? Barbarian Queen. Then she made Barbarian Queen 2. She was on a lot of shows that I know I used to watch, like Starsky and Hutch, Love Boat, Charlie's Angels. And so, although she didn't become this great big movie star, she still was known. Okay. So, just want to put that out there. So, on that night, the police come out to Phil Spector's home. They do not know it's Phil Spector. They don't even know who Phil Spector is at this time. It's 2003. His peak of fame was in the 60s. Excuse me. So they come out to the house and they don't know what to expect. They know that it's a shooting. They don't know if the shooter is still there, if the shooting is still active. All they know is they're going out to this house to see what's going on. So they take out a big shield, like a 40-pound shield. It's got a little plexiglass window in it so they can see through it. And they head up these steps. 88 steps they had to go through carrying this 40-pound shield. And that was just to protect them in case the shooter was shooting out at them. They didn't have any idea of knowing what was going on. They get up to the house, closer to the house, and they can see in the window this little man is ranting and raving to himself. He's walking around, he's all in a frantic. So they start beating on the door. Well, he ends up opening up the door and he is like a crazy man. He's behaving crazily. He's just yelling out things, gibberish. Um, he's not complying with them in the way that they ask him to. So they finally decide to tase him to just to get him calmed down, get him down on the ground. Let's get him calmed down. They tased him and it had no effect on him whatsoever. So they ended up having to take this 40-pound shield and bash it into him and knock him down on the ground in order to subdue him and detain him. Um, they get him away from the front door and they just see just inside the front door there is a woman, a very tall woman. I think she was Lana was 5'11", so she was a very tall woman. She was sprawled out in the chair. There was a gunshot wound to her mouth area, but there wasn't a lot of blood. They said there was a gunshot wound there. Um, they also noticed when they came in, they saw some white stones on the ground. It wasn't white stones; it was her teeth that were on the ground. Um, she had there was no signs of struggle. There was a revolver laying, but it was laying under her left foot, okay? And her purse was on her shoulder. Now, ladies, you know, like I know, if I have my purse on my shoulder, I'm getting ready to go. I'm done. This is the way that they saw her. Um, they saw that there were glasses of alcohol, so they had been drinking. But they didn't really know what was going on. Once they started to look in the case, the first thing they did was started asking around with her friends or acquaintances, and some lady, some agent, legend named Pumpkin Pie. I tried to look her up. The only pumpkin pie I came up was, Thanksgiving, period. Even when I put in Agent California. So I don't know who that was at all. But she said that Lana was depressed because at the time when they took Phil down, he was saying that she was depressed and she killed herself. She was saying that she never made it big in Hollywood, so I'm going to kill myself here in the house of a star. Eh. He hadn't been famous for years. But he was going to be a star. She was going to be a star through this suicide. That's his story. Well, as it comes to find out, the police started to talk to different people and found that she wasn't depressed at all. And in fact, she had a blog where she was very, very excited. There were some new opportunities that she had accepted. And even though she was in her 40s, she didn't look 40. She was quite beautiful, quite a beautiful woman. And there were new opportunities opening up. And she was excited about this year because it was only February. February 3rd is what they have, but it was just the beginning of the year. So she was excited about the year, what the year was going to bring. Now, when they took Spector down to the police station, he acted a plumb fool. He was dropping F bombs everywhere. He was talking about, "Don't you know who I am?" He was talking about he knew people in high places in the police department, and everyone is going to lose their jobs and all of that, which none of that actually happened. But they talked to him, but they did not detain him simply because the detectives had worked many a suicide, and so they wanted to be sure that this wasn't a suicide. That's what he was saying. So, like I said, they did talk to a bunch of people and come to find out that she wasn't depressed at all. And also, the detective said that usually beautiful women, and she was a beautiful woman, they don't shoot themselves. They usually take pills to commit suicide. And in addition, they said that people who commit suicide usually do that in private. They don't go to anyone's house and kill themselves. And that's true. Think about Robin Williams. He was in the room by himself. So let me tell you what happened. So it was that night, initially, like I said, it was February 2nd. And they went to Spector went to the House of Blues, a place that he would go to all the time. And at that time, it was owned by Dan Aykroyd, the actor SNL. If you know Saturday Night SNL, or if you know Ghostbusters, or he made a lot of movies. I love him. Anyways, he owned the House of Blues, but there was a special VIP room called the Foundation Room, and Lana was hosting that particular room, like the maitre d', allowing people in and out. So here comes this person coming in wanting to go into the foundation room, and Lana said, "No, you can't go in there." Lana thought, believe it or not, that it was an old lady with a wig on. That is what she thought. It wasn't until her managers came over to her and told her, "Oh no, this guy's important. This is Phil Spector, big time music producer, and you got to let him in, get him to his table." And she did. And then she proceeded to really nurture him and cater to him and everything else. At this point, Phil decides to invite her to his home. Now, things that we should know about Phil that the cops didn't know at the time was that Phil was a really angry man. Phil had a passion for guns, okay? In fact, he was married to Ronnie Spector. Ronnie, I think she was in that group, Ramones. I'm not really sure. But anyway, she was his wife, even though she had been one of the people he produced back in the day. And she wrote a book talking about how he would lock her in the house. She couldn't go anywhere. He pulled guns on her. It was a very abusive situation until she was able to escape. In addition, there were more women, and they testified at the trial that spoke of him every time that they were ready to go, that he would pull a gun out and try to hold them hostage. So, with this particular information, his attraction to guns, his because guns meant power to him. Let me just say that he was a little man, guns meant power, and he could be in control. He was extremely controlling. In fact, he was so controlling that he was trying to control and demand things from Tina Turner when he did the song with her. It was just her. And I can't think of the name of the song, but you guys might know. But anyways, it was so much so that Ike started coming to these recording sessions, and all that foolala stopped. Phil was not harsh or angry or anything to her because he couldn't deal man to man. Okay. So once they, in addition to some other things I wanted to share you, was that they had saw that on the glasses, the autopsy had looked, and they saw that there were signs of intermingling or kissing had happened, as well as on her chest when she got to the autopsy room, there was DNA of Phil Spector. So you can imagine what that was. Um, at this point, she was ready to go. Okay. She grabbed her purse. She was ready to go. She'd had enough of this. This isn't going to get me anywhere. This guy's getting angrier by the minute. And he left her in this particular foyer. And in this foyer, there was a door which the detectives had spied that had a knob, but the deadbolt wasn't on there. It was missing. Well, the deadbolt was actually able to come out. So it looked as though he had took it out and put it on the other side so he could decide when she was going to leave or not. He was just an angry drunk. He would go along, everything would be good, and once he got angry, he got out of control. So the police really began to suspect that this might be him, but they needed another piece of evidence. And they remembered that night that, and they had it on videotape from the House of Blues. He had on all black, but he had a white jacket on top of it. Okay. And so they went into the house, the police did, and they found that white jacket, and they were able to um, test that with really sophisticated equipment available these days. And they were able to find that there were blood spots on that jacket. Even though Phil said she killed herself, Phil said that he was out of the room. When he came back in the room, she had a gun in her mouth and that she killed herself. But there was no way that blood spatter could have gotten on his jacket if he was as far away as he said. The blood spatter showed that he had to be right up on her in order to do that. The police were speculating that because she had Vicodin in her system and she had alcohol. Like the Vicodin was for the pain because she had broken her wrist. Let me just say that if I haven't said that already, but she had broken her wrist some time ago, and she had casts on, and she was taking Vicodin for the pain. And so she had drinks in her. She had Vicodin in her. She had worked all night, and they speculate that she fell asleep at his house, like dozed off while she was in this locked up room, and then he came in. This is all alleged. Well, I don't know if I could say. Someone tell me don't say alleged because it's already been they've had the crime, but I'm gonna say what I gotta say. So he came into the room, got the gun out of the drawer because he was saying she did it, and I don't know how many people you're sitting right there and they go through your drawers, other than your family looking for food or silverware, but not looking for guns. She wouldn't have known he had a gun at all. But like I said, he, according to detectives, saw that she was asleep, got the gun, put it in her mouth, pressed down so hard that she had a bruise on her tongue, and blew her away. The gun went through the back of her head, severed her spine, and that she probably was dead immediately. Um, so now it's time that we go to trial, and there's a long, drawn out trial. Um, it lasted 4 to 6 months. And now the first time they called it a mistrial because two of the jurors said they did not have enough evidence to think that maybe she did kill herself. They wanted more evidence that she did not because they thought maybe she did. So then they had to retry it all over again, and this time he was found guilty. He was sentenced to 19 years to life. At this point, he is still alive. Um, he is 80 years old. From my understanding, he no longer can speak because he had polyps on his larynx, and so he can't speak anymore, but he is certainly there and he is certainly aging. So I wanted to look at, first of all, did he have the ability, the propensity to kill somebody? Would that be in his nature? I know the stories about what the women said that he pulled a gun on them many a time when they wanted to leave from partying at his house. But could he have done that? So I looked at his birthday. His birthday is December 26, 1939. He was born in Bronx, New York at 2:55 p.m. So now I've got to go back to 2003 because that's what I have to look at him from that moment. And at 2003, that was a number five universal year. So that year would apply to all of our birthdays. And his birth month was December, and his um, day was the 26th, which in and of itself tells you an awful lot about him that he was demanding, he was harsh, he was really about making his money. Um, his year at that time was a number six year. So right away, that I should have known. Anybody should have known if you had looked at it that he was going to be found guilty because the number six talks about you have to take the responsibility for things. It's about carrying the burdens for things. And why not carry the burdens for something that you did? He also was his life path is a number five, which I always tell you guys is very harsh. So you've got a six where I've got to take responsibility. A five is severity, lessons, tests, and that's him. He also had freedom in his chart. He didn't have to do this. He could have done something else that night or just went home and went to bed. The funny thing is, part of him is he has public conflicts, and then a larger part of him is a private conflict. So that's why we hadn't heard from him in years and years. He was in that mansion, secluded, locked up, living privately, and then he came out and did this particular act, went too far, and it became public. His rising is Gemini. So that tells me he's all over the place, all over the place. A love of learning, seemingly amiable, approachable, talkative. His sun is Capricorn. So for him, That's about money. Okay, money. He was very money driven, goal oriented. One thing he didn't like is to see people. Usually, when you have a sun in Capricorn, you hate to see people get ahead of you in whatever your job, your industry, your trade is, especially if they haven't put the work in as you do. Um, his moon is Cancer, so that would make him want to bring her home. Sometimes they have a tendency to be nurturers, and that's very all that's watery. The moon, Cancer, very feminine, very watery. Um, he had the ability to make others feel like he would accept them no matter what happened. His Mercury was in Sagittarius, and that right there tells me, yeah, heck yeah, he killed her because they want to learn, they want new information, and they'll take whatever risk to learn. And this would have been a real learning thing for him of how would it be to kill somebody, okay? Even though it didn't work out the way he wanted, he thought that he could outsmart them and make her paint her the victim, but she wasn't. He's got a Mars in Pisces, so there too, he would be a person that would take in the people that are downtrodden or broken. But then on the other hand, you have the negative aspect of that being that not being so trusting of people and getting angry quickly. You've got that fire, than water right there. You're getting angry, you're swimming around, you're lost, and so you strike out and you act out. He's got Jupiter and Saturn both in Aries. That speaks of his impulsivity, his self centeredness. Remember, he was cursing out the police and all of that, and do you know who I am type of attitude. Um, Also, it speaks about him withdrawing. He would withdraw if people talk poorly of him. Now, Lana, whose birthday is April 5th, 1962, I don't have a time, so I have to use noon as her time, but her numbers are accurate. That she was in a number five personal year at that time because her birthday, no, I'm sorry, she was in a number four time because her birthday hadn't come yet. I'm sorry. Let me get this right. She was a number four. Her birthday had not come yet. So she would have been about taking care of her business. She would not have wanted to sleep with him or anything else because she would have wanted to. I've got this to do and I've got that to do and I've got to organize and I've got to take care of this and I've got to take care of my business. And so she would have not wanted to stay all night and make a thing of it. Now, like I said, there was evidence that there was DNA on her chest. So I don't know if that was after she passed or before, because it could have gone either way. But even if it was before, that would have been part of business, Hollywood business, that you do that and then I'm gone. But that wasn't enough for him. Her life path is a nine, so she will always be remembered. She was a good person. She did have empathy and sympathy for people, and she would have really felt badly about mistaking him, Phil Spector, as a woman with a wig on. So much so, she would have trusted him and gone to his house. She's got a rise in Cancer, so that's that nurturing, let me take care of you, you're gonna be okay. Her sun and her moon are in Aries. That tells me she jumps at stuff too quick. She makes assumptions too quick. She'll go for it, and only later does she think, "Oh, what am I doing?" Which I guarantee you, when she sat in that house that night, she was like, "Oh my goodness, what have I gotten myself into? I got to get out of this," and only to find out that the deadbolt was off the lock and there was no way out for her. Her Mars is in Pisces, so that again, same thing as Spectre. They like to aid people. They are sensitive. They are the artists. And he was a musical artist, and she was an actress. They will go with the flow of things only to find out they have flown the wrong way. She also was easy to take advantage of. She had Jupiter in Pisces, and people get taken advantage of right there, um, only because they go along. They go along with stuff. Just imagine a fish swimming along. They go along, go along. So she had destiny in her particular chart. So this was destined to happen to her. And I just want to throw just a couple of cards to see, even though he said that she killed herself, I want to see what happened that night. As soon as I take it out, boom, tower. That's what happened that night. Everything went crazy. So I'm asking, what happened the night of Phil Spector and Lana Clarkson? What happened the night of Phil Spector and Lana Clarkson? Yeah, for sure. Ace of Wands in reverse. This is about energy and flowing through and opportunities. Let's see if you can see that. There you go. It's in reverse. Everything stopped. The energy stopped. The flow of opportunity stopped. It stopped right then, right there. And yep, there you are. There's Phil. Why did the energy stop? You see that sword in his hand? This is an intelligent man, which he was, but he cut it short. He cut her life short. Did he kill her? Absolutely. There you are, right there. He killed her. He cut her energy short. He cut his own energy out, his own energy off. We have the high priestess in reverse that says that secrets have been revealed, that you didn't, neither one of them looked deeper rather than being nurturing and caring and going with the flow and being overly impulsive and pretending charm with that Gemini rising of his and all of that. They didn't stop for a moment and think about what could happen this night. It is the middle of the night. We've been drinking. When she misidentified him as a woman, he was furious. Okay. I'm not going home with anybody furious, but this is Hollywood. She thought this was going to lead to her big break. Why did he do that? He was angry. He was intoxicated. She disrespected him, he felt like, and she cut the energy short. Yeah, and her wish was the 9 of Cups, that I could be known, I could be recognized, I could be important, and she did not get her wish. So did Phil Spector do it? Yes, he did. Why did he do that? Because she misidentified him. He felt disrespected. He felt like a little man. He felt like he was going to be abandoned one more time by another woman like Ronnie. Everything stems back to Ronnie. Ronnie is not to blame, but his experience with abandonment came with her, and probably even before that, that he felt abandoned, and another woman was going to abandon him, another person. So that is my Phil Spector story. Yes, he did that mess. And he is a whole mess to this day. But guys, subscribe, like, thumbs up. That really means a lot. Helps boost me up so people can see me and we can share our channel together. Joyce all knowing, well, Joyce all knowing, and Joyce knows who done it. You